Hello, I'm Askar Sherlief, and these are the latest updates from Kazakhstan. Paradoxically, the 9th International Media Forum currently underway in Almaty was planned to be held without the actual participation of the media. Or so it seems, as accredited journalists were not allowed to enter the session hall where the main topic of the discussion was the freedom of speech.
Why do you violate our rights and the law on mass media? Is this a media forum or what? Typically, the restrictions for press were imposed only on the opening day of the media forum during the welcoming speeches of President Nazarbayev and his daughter Dariga. This year, however, an attempt was made to completely isolate journalists from foreign participants. The organizing committee said that monitors in the press room that directly rebroadcast all meetings are enough for the work of the press. Only after about 13 newsmakers began to picket the entrance to the conference hall where the forum sessions are held, the journalists were allowed to enter. This was a good example for all present at the meeting who were actually discussing the freedom of speech. This is wrong. I didn't know about this, and I thought journalists have free access.
Apparently, only government-friendly press will attend any political events in the country soon, while the internet will end up being under strict control. The vital issue of the internet censorship was discussed during the second day of the Eurasian Media Forum.
Internet regulation was the main topic discussed during the second day of the 9th Eurasian Media Forum. The tone of the discussion was set by the Turkish professor Yaman Akdeniz.
Why can't I access YouTube in Kazakhstan? I have not committed any crimes and access to YouTube is not illegal, but I still cannot access it here.
The Kazakh journalist Tatiana Benz voiced the view on the situation from the inside. Last year, the authorities passed a new law equating the internet with mass media, thus forcing every user in Kazakhstan to abide by self-censorship rules. We cannot be sure that tomorrow the leadership of the country will not decide to regulate our activities to the point when we will be no longer able to work. The former OSCE representative on mass media, Miklos Kharashti, calls this a new chapter for the history of mankind. Countries like Kazakhstan, which have no public television and internet competition, also lack political pluralism.
If one company controls all communication channels, filtration and blocking while the society doesn't have any say in this, then there's obviously no freedom of political expression in the country.
As if confirming the speaker's point, the national internet provider Kazakh Telecom kept surprising the forum participants.
Internet is constantly down, and because of that, I and my colleagues were unable to finish our work. I don't know why this happens. Maybe there are some technical issues on the press center. I hope they fix this soon.
Summing up the discussion, Kharashti said that the content censorship is meaningless. Unfortunately, officials did not participate in the talks as they obviously have another opinion on the matter.
Regular Almaty residents are also dissatisfied with the internet censorship. They say that the government controls enough information already. Many believe it is better to filter pornographic or other offensive content rather than block political sites.
I think that censorship is necessary to raise some global and important issues. Take porno sites, scandals and rumors. I personally do not care about any of that, but there are people who like such things. I think censorship should be discussed as a part of more important topics.
When my friends browse the internet, they encounter offensive language and feel really embarrassed.
I do not think we need censorship. Our media is already suppressed enough. If the internet will be censored too, Kazakhstan will never know what truly is going on.
Kazakhstan's Halyk Bank expressed its interest in buying BTA Bank, said on Wednesday the bank's board chair Umut Shayat-Akhmetova in the interview to the Bloomberg agency.
According to Shayat-Akhmetova, Halyk Bank, owned by the president's son-in-law Timur Kulibayev, has excess liquidity in the amount of more than $5 billion and can invest $300 million into long-term projects if such occur. Speaking of her proposal, Shayat-Akhmetova noted that if BTA Bank will be put up for sale, it should be available to all market participants and not only to Sberbank or some other entity.
The officials refused to allow activists of the unregistered party Alga and communists to hold a nationwide May Day demonstration. The radical politicians believe the authorities do not want to see, hear or understand the problems of regular people. Nevertheless, the opposition still plans to hold protest actions despite any official bans.
Kazakh authorities banned May Day peaceful demonstrations in all regions of the country. The activist of the unregistered party Alga, Vladimir Kozlov, is outraged by the decision.
Instead of demonstration, they proposed us to walk around with posters in a small area. Perhaps there we should express our solidarity on the Day of the National Unity. Of course, we consider this proposal an insult.
Nevertheless, the opposition leaders are not planning to resign to the authorities' decisions. The biased attitude towards the civil society forced Vladimir Kozlov and the new chair of the Communist Party, Gaziz Aldamzharov, to revive the political bloc Narodovlastia, the People's Rule, in order to encourage public organizations to unite for joint protest actions.
The more bans they introduce, the more supporters willing to protest will have.
Yesen Uktishbayev, the leader of the movement Leave Housing to People, also decided to join Narodovlastia. He believes the protest coalition is growing.
We also plan to join the protests on May 1st together with representatives of other protest groups.
Nevertheless, not everyone is ready to support the initiatives of Narodovlastia, fearing the repeat of the recent violence in Kyrgyzstan.
If protesters will lose control over the situation, our business will suffer first.
The opposition Social Democratic Party Azad has not yet decided to join the political bloc. According to the party's head Amirjan Kosanov, the leaders of the political union must come to a consensus before moving further.
The People's Assembly of Kazakhstan expressed its concern about the ethno-political conflicts in Kyrgyzstan during the roundtable on Wednesday. Political scientists from Kyrgyzstan also took part in the discussion.
The roundtable on inter-ethnic conflicts was opened with the participants expressing their condolences to the people of Kyrgyzstan. On Wednesday, representatives of political, public and scientific organizations reviewed the experience of the neighboring country and looked for ways to solve similar issues. They criticized the events at the village of Maivka near Bishkek, where 5 people died in the clashes. The interim government was called to end the conflict as soon as possible. The Chinese say do not covet the enemy to live in the era of change. Kyrgyzstan now experiences these changes. I feel very sorry for Kyrgyz people because we consider them our brothers. We visit their resorts, our businessmen have property there, and that is why we are very concerned about the future of that country. Kyrgyz political scientist Kuban Abdolin and Zhirgalbek Kasabolotov also participated in the discussion via the teleconference. According to them, the situation in the country is stabilizing, and the interim government is working on the new constitution amendments, as well as preparing for the new parliamentary elections.
In principle, the situation is improving. No shootings or fights were reported. There are, of course, random rallies of different political parties, but they are peaceful.
The gap between rich and poor, as well as the inefficient state policies, are obvious in Kyrgyzstan, concluded the debate participants. They also appealed to the Kazakh president Nursultan Nazarbayev with the request to open the Kazakh-Kyrgyz border.
Meanwhile, speakers at the National Youth Forum in Astana outright condemned the events in Kyrgyzstan. Officials and MPs favorably compared Kazakh students to the eco-evils in Kyrgyzstan and told the audience that Kazakh youth is now in the focus of attention of the country's leadership.
The National Youth Forum was used as a tool in subduing any revolution moods. The deputy head of the president's administration, Maulena Shumbayev, began his speech with the anti-propaganda of the recent unrest in Kyrgyzstan. The 39-year-old official successfully attempted to show the students his frankness and even used their slang. After grabbing the attention of the audience, Shumbayev told the students not to follow the example of their Kyrgyz co-evils.
Instead of the energy of creation, their souls are filled with the energy of destruction, which led Kyrgyzstan to near collapse. This is something we should think about and make conclusions.
Meanwhile, President Nursultan Nazarbayev proudly believes that Kazakhstan actually put an end to the tragic event in Kyrgyzstan. During the media forum in Almaty, Nazarbayev called the coup d'etat a simple change of political elites and compared the process to a gang war.
We discussed these events back in the Washington summit. During these talks, I put a lot of effort to prevent the civil war in Kyrgyzstan. This was not a revolution, but banditry.
The youth forum went just as planned. Students nodded in approval and unanimously supported the ideas of officials. The opposition youth was not invited to the event, so no counter-arguments were presented. Interestingly, some of the delegates were not well prepared for the forum, as if they did not even understand why they were sent here at all.